Hello, I'm Jose, and this is the Cinematic Dogma podcast. I'm joined, as every week, by my exotic, but at the same time familiar friend, Blake.
I'm still here, Jose. Week after week.
Week after week, you're still here. What did we watch this week?
This week we watched a film called I'm Still Here. Not to be confused with the Bob Dylan biopic, I'm Still Here. Not to be confused with the Bob Dylan biopic this year. No, we watched the 2024 Brazilian. It's a based on memoirs, right? Or is it based on an autobiography? True story about a family that lived through the brutal dictatorship in Brazil in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The reason why we watch it, I think that this was my pick. But this has been like a bit of a movie that has been like building up name, but in a bit more of a low-key manner. So is that I heard like mention it like multiple times. I heard mention about the main actress, Fernanda Torres. I didn't pay too much attention until, like the Oscar nominations like came out, and it's like, oh, I guess that this is actually like a well-known movie. It's not like a one-off kind of, how do you say, like indie foreign movie. It's like, this is actually like a probably like big production here. And I was like really intrigued by by Fernanda Torres' role.
I actually didn't. I knew it had been nominated. She had been nominated for Best Actress. I knew the film had been nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. I did not realize until today, basically, that it was nominated for Best Picture in addition to that. So,
Yeah. So, and this may be like something about the Oscars that they are shifting towards more international cinema, because this year also Emilia Pérez is like, I don't exactly know where it's from. It's French, I guess, albeit it's in Spanish, except Selena Gomez talking. But it's like, I think that now the Oscars are like paying more attention at this level of the best movie. They are more open to the idea of a foreign movie can be considered by the Academy as a best movie too. After Parasite, I think that things started to change quite a bit.
I agree. And I also think thanks to like streaming platforms that just have endless money, they're like, we need to pay directors. What directors can we get? Let's go to Europe. Let's go to Asia.
Yeah.
Let's bring all the directors.
To be completely fair, I think that Emilia Pérez is a movie not produced by Netflix, is bought by Netflix.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I feel like the streaming platforms have kind of opened up audiences to more international fare. Like, what was that Spanish bank heist? There was like a heist TV show
Money Heist.
That wouldn't have happened 20 years ago, but now like a foreign language, anything can be anyway.
Yeah. No, that's true. Everything is like way much more accessible than what it was before, and the cost of actually making it accessible is like way cheaper than before. That is, would have to be like a distributor. A distributor would have to talk like with cinemas or like with network TVs or with cable TV, and just the prices would be like way higher than just like, hey, I have all of the money. I already have like the distribution channel, so it's like for me super cheap, like someone like Netflix to just import something.
Yep. Well, thank you, Netflix.
But yeah, we're not talking about Emilia Pérez this time. We're talking about I'm Still Here. And as this was my pick, do you want to summarize it?
I will summarize it, Jose. You're going to have to help me a little bit, although I saw the film much more recently than you did.
Yes. Oh.
Unless I'm mistaken, the film opens in 1970, and it opens... So we follow the family of Rubens Paiva, and I'm going to mispronounce every single name in this description, so my apologies. Rubens is married to Eunice, and they have a family. I think they have 5 kids, 4 daughters and a son. And they live in Rio, pretty close to the beach. I think it's actually a beach house, but they have a really lovely life. They have friends over all the time. They basically... They have a very idyllic life. Rubens had been a congressman several years prior to the story that we're observing. But when the new administration came in, the new government formed and took over, Rubens was exiled. When I read a description, it said he was self-exiled. So he went out of the country for 6 years, I think. And then he came back and he continued to resist in ways that he tried to not show his family, but he was basically breaking the law in protest of the new government. At some point, Rubens gets, the term we'll use is kidnapped, but it's a very polite form of kidnapping, where the government shows up and they politely escort him to a military base, and
without too much explanation or for how long or signals about like where they're going. It's like they disappear in a polite manner.
He's going for a deposition. He gets dressed. He puts on a collared shirt, says goodbye to his family, and leaves. And Eunice, a day later, I think, some government men stay with her, and they just wait for Rubens to come back. And at some point, actually, Eunice actually gets taken to the military base, and we see what Eunice experiences, but we never see what Rubens experiences. At some point, Eunice gets released, and she's returned back to her children, and she comes home, but Rubens doesn't. And the rest of the film kind of explores what the family does, and looking for Rubens and the military dictatorship and what happens, and there's some. Yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that. It's very current in films. Is there anything relevant I left out?
No. I think that covers it. Maybe we'll do like a spoiler tag in a bit. But for now, I think that's like the general story, and it's a biopic. So there is no kind of out of the blue story here. It's quote unquote a standard fare, let's say. There is no crazy twist, let's say.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Period.
Okay, we can leave it there. Period. That's the movie.
Well, until next week.
Exactly. So did you like it?
I did like it. I liked it overall. For me personally, there were some problems in terms of it being entertaining and with it being a piece of film overall, but it was good. It was really good, and it was entertaining for the most part. There were some very boring moments and stretches that I was like,
oh yeah,
I didn't understand. There's some very confusing choices. Like at some point, Eunice is studying. Hold on, let me think about spoilers. She's studying newspapers to try and figure out where her husband might be being held or where his last whereabouts are known. And she's reading a newspaper and she starts to take a note. And we watch her write a full sentence in real time. And of course, the subtitles translate it. And the sentence she writes is, his last whereabouts are unknown. Obviously, that's the point of the investigation. But for some reason, we need to watch. So
why was that important?
I don't get it.
Yeah, well, but that's one of the things that don't you think that this may be one of those cultural things that is maybe back then, as many people were disappearing by the military force in Brazil, is that maybe, and they also control partially the news. Is that the news they used to mention stuff exactly with that wording. I mean, that's the only explanation that I can have, that it was a bit more about hey, this is the triggering sentence of probably your husband is a long time gone.
So the answer is yes. I think there probably is something cultural, and that brings up my biggest and primary complaint about this film is this, in my opinion, cannot stand as a standalone film because the storytellers didn't really bother to explain enough about the story to have it be a film in its of itself. It requires that you know a certain amount about what was happening in Brazilian politics or Brazilian economics at that time in order for you to understand at all what's happening. So for me, that takes away from it as being just a piece of a film, right? Because it's more just a companion piece to like a news story.
So I hear you. I do not agree. And I know that we have discussed like this point like many times in foreign movies. There is like if it's from Spain, is that I may have like the historical context or the social context, and I may appreciate it in a different way. This one, I feel like the screenplay is good enough for just giving you. They don't look at the camera and they explain that it's like in 1964 there was a coup d'état and a military regime was implanted. Like former congressmen disappeared from the country for 6 years. This is the story of one of these congressmen when they come back to Brazil. They don't look at the camera for saying that, but they give you like the information. So I think that is that the screenplay doesn't presume that you know all of these. There may be like details, like that sentence that is like, hey, this is my explanation about that bizarre artistic choice. But I didn't really feel like I miss a lot of historical context for appreciating the core of the movie. I didn't feel like, oh my God, I have like a cultural gap that is preventing me to understand the motivations of these characters.
So my husband's from Argentina, who went through a very similar dictatorship at about the same time. So I have some sort of understanding, at least through what Argentina went through at the time. But in this film, they never bother to explain like you see Rubens, and I said this in the synopsis, this isn't a spoiler, engaging in treason, basically, throughout the first opening of the films. But they never explain whether what he's doing is morally good or bad, or whether what the government is doing is morally bad. You have to make
I think that they don't care.
right.
Yeah.
But if I made up my mind that, hey, you're an asshole committing crimes, endangering your wife and your kids, and you get arrested and go to jail, that's probably how it should be.
Okay, wait a second. There is a different degree of what happened here. Is that this guy basically disappears. It's like in a democracy. In the democracy, what it would happen is like this person could be like going to jail, this person will be judged, and then we will know what happens. But it would be open in a real democracy. So, albeit I agree with you that is that we don't know if the motivations are good or bad, the movie focuses much more into how the dictatorship, like that regime, treated him. And that's independent. It's like they treated him in a way that is like, you are not human. You have disappeared. At this point, we don't own any explanation to anything. As you said, this is a kidnapping. But you cannot protest to anyone because the government is the one that is kidnapping you.
I see what you say, but it's my opinion that I wasn't given enough in the film, that I had to make a ton of assumptions. So the assumption that I had to make is that Rubens and Eunice, they were extremely wealthy, like extremely wealthy.
Yeah, like high class, yeah.
And they got their money from stealing from poor people while he was in the government. So is he going to jail because he's a criminal, which he should go to jail? Or shouldn't he? I couldn't understand. Is he a victim?
But he didn't go to jail. He didn't go to jail.
Right, but this is my point. Was he a war criminal that should be sent to Guantanamo, or was he not? I don't know. I don't know if I should care about this family at all.
I don't think that he was a war criminal. It's that he was a congressman and he was an architect.
Well, okay, the president of Brazil right now is still a war criminal, and he's still the president of Brazil. I mean, you can be both things.
Yeah, but I don't, at least like from what we are given, is that it doesn't, I don't know what he was like a congressman for, I don't know if they explain it. But honestly, I think that this movie is not so much about the, how do you say, like the past. It's a bit more about like just focusing on like the disappearance of political adversaries that military regime had. Is that if this guy was doing something that it was illegal, and actually is that he's processed because he was doing something illegal, that he was passing messages. The only thing that we are showing is that he passed messages, like some envelopes from person A to person B. He's an intermediary, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is, well, if the point was just to talk about these disappearances, this should have been a documentary. I think they turned it into a film so I would care about these people. I didn't know whether or not I should care about that family, so I didn't.
So She didn't care about like the daughter that also gets kidnapped with a hood on her head. I mean, I don't think that is that you have to
I don't
sympathize
think they're
with her, but it's like
particularly victims. I mean, like, I just don't
the
understand why
daughter,
it's remarkable.
like a 16-year-old or 15. I mean, I don't know, but
It's a horrible
find it
experience,
horrifying.
but also like that's what happens when you're committing treason in your home. Like those are justifiable responses.
Wait. You're telling me that basically being kidnapped in the middle of the night with a hood in your head, being like psychologically and physically tortured.
Wait. In my mind, I was thinking about the car when they were driving in the car. Are you talking about a different time?
No, I mean, I'm talking when they take the mother and the daughter, when they take
Oh,
them
to
away.
go see the dad. Yeah.
No, to go see the dad is that to take them to somewhere, without any kind of explanation or anything, and they separated. You hear like the screams, is that there is like this kind of methodical, like humiliation day after day of interrogating them.
Yeah. It's definitely tense and super unpleasant. My only complaint, they just didn't give me enough to care about these people more so than any other story. That's my only point.
Okay, maybe the point for me is like no one should be treated like that.
Yeah, but that's not an uncommon story in a million countries. This isn't
Oh no
a remarkable story
part,
in any case at all.
On that part, I do agree with you, because for me, when I walk away, it's like, hey, I had the feeling that almost every country that had a dictatorship during the last century, they have one of these movies.
Yeah, it's an unremarkable story about characters I couldn't get to care about. So it's a fine film, but a little bit boring and.
Yeah, I mean, it has problems on the pacing. It's like, I don't know if we want to go into spoiler territory here, but I had the feeling that 1.5 act is you could have removed them from here. I just feel like the movie kept going and was like, wait, one more act? Are you freaking kidding me?
They
like
were
the last 10, 15
they were
minutes?
particularly cruel in like making you think the movie was ending. And then it just like started again. It was like Christopher Nolan's Inception. You really thought the movie was ending, and
He said, no, it's not. I still have one more act for you. And I just felt that this is not going to be like changing my experience or my takeaways of the movie, but you really want to adapt like these memoirs like to the last page.
and there was some
okay.
really lazy writing in there, like when they had to make a nod to the son's accident. And they could only do it by having somebody sign an autograph. But they don't even do it well enough that you had to go research on the internet to understand he wrote the memoir this is based on. Or when they wanted to lock the gate for the driveway. So she tells the maid, hey, will you lock the gate to the garage? And she's like, does that even have a key? Like, okay, we get it. Your streets are safe. And it's like, why are you doing these like weird, poorly written one-offs? I don't know. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, okay, like the screenplay, I do agree that it's not like the best. There are like points that you can start like poking at it, and it's like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, what is the motivation here, or why you think that this is important to be shown? I think what I think that is the core of this story, besides like how the government like caused like this disappearance and like the suffering attached to it, is the resilience of the main character, about like how she held it together like for years and years. I think that she does a good job. I think that probably she's like the best part of this movie.
Do you think in real life the real woman knew or didn't know about what her husband was doing? Yeah, just to be clear, maybe we need to put the spoiler tag here specifically. Okay, so I'm just going to spoil now. In the film, they make it very clear that she did not know about whatever clandestine activities her husband was doing or not doing.
I think that she knew that he was doing something. But she deliberately like just decided
plausible
to look away.
Deniability. Yeah.
Exactly, and I had the feeling that they could have explored that a tiny bit more, about saying that it's like, hey, are you really an accomplice if you knew that your husband was doing something that probably was bad, but you pretended that they were not doing anything bad, so you didn't have to face the truth. But probably you maybe, because we don't know if he's doing it for money or just because of beliefs of, hey, I need to support like this resistance group.
Yeah,
we assume that is for political beliefs, but
well, and that's my point, is we're just required to depend on our own assumptions, and I made different assumptions, which made me feel differently about the film, and you made other assumptions, and I guess it's just, yeah.
I mean, for me, at the end, it's like a story of survival, of like the woman like just doing whatever is in her hands for just surviving. Now, as we're in spoiler territory, I would say like the last act pissed me off. It was like you could remove all of this piece, but basically it was created for just having Fernanda Torres, actress, so like the main actress, mother, playing the same character as her, like 20 years in the future. It was more like, dude, okay, I understand that her mother is like one of the most iconic Brazilian actresses ever, but I don't need these 10-15 minutes, please. It's that this is not helping anyone. It's like this movie already felt like pretty long, and adding on top of it is too much.
It was interesting that at the end, we can just do full spoilers here, right? Like,
Yeah.
So
Spoilers,
they do two. So the bulk of the film takes place in the 70s, and then it jumps to 1996, and you think you're going to kind of get this wrap up, and you're like, okay, well, we saw what happens in 96, and then it jumps to 2014, and you're like, it just felt a little like they didn't quite know what to do in those last few minutes.
No, once again, it's like, I think that this is someone, I don't know if it was the director or whoever, that they thought that it's like, hey, this is going to be a cool idea, getting this actress playing the same role as her daughter, you know, like in the end of her career. But it's like, maybe if I'm Brazilian, I can get a chuckle of this, or a bit more of a, oh, you know, this is endearing. As someone foreign, I just feel it's like, dude, the closure on 96 is enough. You don't need a second closure on top of the closure. Is that this doesn't add anything. Is that you can just say that is like this woman actually found peace after this long, you know, and life goes on. It took her 30 years. Well, 30, like 20 years for closing this. Move on.
How awful to be such a sad true story. It is interesting drawing on personal experience because we'll say in this story there's the government in power, right? And then the resistance, which is the former government. My husband's father worked for the dictator in Argentina. So it was interesting seeing a film that's from the perspective of the other side of the discussion.
Well, sure, but you know, there are not so many movies from the military, from the dictatorship side. Let's just be honest, is that most of these movies are always from the other side.
It's true.
Well, but give it a couple of years, you know, in the States. Let's see what Hollywood starts producing.
Every story deserves to be told. Those voices are important.
You know what I want to watch? I want to watch a movie of the Nazis, you know, but of the rich Nazis, like the ones that they actually like had it all like during those years, and then they lost it. It's that we never focus on the tragedy. In 45, it's like suddenly one day, it's like you
then they had to
everything.
Struggle. All of a sudden, they had to work a 9 to 5.
They had to move to Argentina, dude. It's like, just imagine that. I don't know, dude. It's like, I understand what you're saying. I just think that it's like, thankfully, we're still at a point that most of these movies, they come like from the ones that they suffered this tragedy.
Oh,
it's
the
like,
the American movies are coming. You know, just give us some time.
I know that they're coming. Anything else on the spoiler front?
No. I can stop spoiling.
I'm going to be like closing the spoilers here. But overall, I mean, I think that I told you this. I went to my local cinema, like around the corner, and it was full. I think that I brought you. I'm super surprised. It's true that this is like an Oscar-nominated movie, but on a Saturday at 3 p.m., I think that I watched it, and it's that the cinema is full. It's that this is crazy. It's like I'm super happy to see that actually there is this first the opportunity to see a original version movie from Brazil in a neighborhood cinema, and second, that cinema is completely full.
It's a weirdly wide release right now. So I saw it on a Friday night at 6:45 p.m. in San Francisco. So, but it was more
Was it
than
full?
half full, which is
Oh
just
wow.
really uncommon for any film in San Francisco, let
Yeah.
alone this
Yeah.
sort of
So
film.
I don't know if it had like very good PR like around, but once again, I think that it's a decent movie. I don't think that there is anything wrong with it. It's well crafted. The script could be better, but it's beautifully shot, nice, acted. You know, but I'm surprised that it has like this popularity of, like people still, because it has been on the cinemas for probably a month now.
What do you think its odds of winning any of the three nominations it has are? I mean, I feel like she has a pretty good chance at
See,
the
yeah,
acting except, I mean, if it wasn't, what is her name?
yeah. Let's
Jim.
let's just wait.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the thing is that this episode probably is going to go out after the Oscars, so this is going to be like looking a bit bizarre. Like, looking like, why they're talking about like the candidates? But yeah, for me, it makes sense that she's nominated. She could win, maybe not, but she's like decent,
Yeah. Yeah.
solid.
I liked her.
Yep. Should we go over the questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Blake, would you watch I'm Still Here again?
I would not, I don't think. It's not like I really didn't like it, but it's just quite long and a little dry. I couldn't see a reason why I would watch this again.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I had the feeling that this is one of those movies of one and enough. Is that okay? I know like the beats of the movie. This is not a thriller. There is not going to be like, oh my god, like crazy revelations along the ways. It's drama, going through the suffering with these people. It's like I don't need to see her running out of money again. It's not going to be like giving me more energy the second time that I watch it. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's solid, definitely.
I would recommend it, but I had the feeling that it would be with an expiration date.
What do you
That
mean?
it would be like Chile may do like another one of these like in 5 years, about like people that disappear during Pinochet regime, and it's like at that point I would feel is that, oh, this is like my brain is going to have like just a single entry for tragedy during dictatorship.
I was reading that this film has caused kind of a stir in Latin America, specifically because Chile, Argentina, and Brazil all went through very extremely similar dictators.
Yeah.
But Argentina and Chile have aggressively gone after going after those that committed those crimes and taking accountability and responsibility and acknowledging it, while Brazil has never done it. So this film,
Oh,
like in Brazil, there were a bunch of campaigns, don't watch this film, it's propaganda. So that was interesting.
yeah. Give me just 1 second. Do you remember 1985, Argentina 1985?
I know that a film came out like a year or two ago, Nick called that.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm happy to hear that at least this movie is having like a larger impact than just the movie itself. Like just like a, how do you say, a revulsive to make people think about like, oh, maybe we didn't close like a lot of the stuff that it was pending here. Similar things happen in Spain because the dictatorship, like just transitioning from a dictatorship to a democracy, was the soft transition. So it was mostly about like, well, let's just not think about all of the people that they murdered like for many, many, many years and all of the abuse of power that they did. Is that we just transitioned to something else because there was the fear of we can go back pretty easily to where we were before.
So the Spanish government did or did not acknowledge
What do you mean?
the crimes of the previous government?
Oh no, they didn't for a very long time. It's like until the 2000s, probably. It's like when they started with all of these historic memory law for just like no, this is what happened. They started exhuming like some of the mass graves that they had like with political press where they would shoot them and just drop them whatever, you know. So those things for many years they were like, let's not talk about it. Let's just pretend that it didn't happen, and that actually like just reinforce a bit more like the discourse of some people saying that is that, oh, you know, with Franco it wasn't that bad because people were not talking openly about like, dude, if I would be to disagree with you about that and say it's like, no, it fucking sucks, is that I would be in jail in 2 hours. And if I'm like an important political figure or whatever, is that I may get shot.
This stuff is stressful. So, we're all doomed.
Yep. I'm not telling you that this is what is going to happen in this country. But in any case, in any case, this is a public podcast, so maybe not good to leave like some signal about like just come for us. So going back, dude, I lost my train of thought. I mean, you were telling me about like Argentina and Chile, and this is actually like giving. Oh, I was going to be like saying just like, yes, that's great that this has like this political importance, but I had the feeling that if I see another of these movies that is good enough from another Latin American country, it may replace this one as the one that I recommend.
No. What I was saying is this one's unique because Brazil is not acknowledging this. Even the current president refuses to acknowledge this happened.
But that's good for the political importance, but the movie doesn't address that.
That it happened? That's all the movie
well,
is
I mean, we're not going back to the spoilers part. You and I will catch up later a tiny bit more, but let's just say I don't think that come across that strong here, even like with how the movie ends or before the ending, is that I had the feeling that it's like it gives closure, and if the message was like about not giving closure and saying it's like, hey, we need to demand closure for this country as a whole, I don't think that the movie succeeds on that, if that was the intent. Right. But that's my feeling. Yep. Would you remember it?
Let's say yes.
I would say that I would remember it like 4 bullet points.
Yeah, I'll remember big picture stuff.
Yep. I would remember like some events, like the ones that you described before. The spoiler is like wealthy family, father gets kidnapped by the military, then mother and daughter, and then like other 3 steps, and the movie ends. I won't remember like the daughter goes to London or that they have a dog, poor dog.
Oh, that was yeah. They're like, let's bring a dog in for 2 seconds and then kill it.
Spoiler, but yeah, it's like since the dog appears, you already know that that's going to happen. Yeah, well, a bit more, but yeah, it's still like pretty obvious that that's the poor fate of the dog since he shows up. Is there anything artistic about I'm Still Here?
The acting is quite good.
Yeah.
And the direction, I don't know. I can't say the direction is that. There is some good direction, but overall it's kind of a mess. Yeah, there's some artistic stuff about it.
Yeah, I agree. I like how it's shot. I think that it's fine. It's not spectacular, but it's like, it's fine. It's serviceable. And I like the acting. I think that the acting, even like the kids, I don't hate them completely. You know which movie this reminded me to? I told this to my boyfriend, he didn't like it, but to Roma.
Why? In what way?
There is it's very focused on the family life in a house during a turmoil period. In this one, of course, it's about like the military regime, like just kidnapping the father. In the other one, it's about like the father basically dropping them. Like I'm out of this family. but they have to be resilient through that.
They
And there is
continue
also a turmoil moment for the country.
I can see that.
So,
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I'm oversimplifying, but I just felt it's like, they also had a lot of kids in Roma. Yeah, I didn't hate the kids. So I guess that's a positive when there were 5 of them.
Yeah, I just had a hard time keeping them straight. But the kids, some of them, the ones that actually had kind of more substantive roles, there were a couple that I was like, oh, they're pretty good.
Yeah. Is this a timely piece?
I would say yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with yes too. I feel like, as you said, it may have like an historical importance to not be forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important. Like, never forget. We need to talk about things so we don't repeat history. But also just the theme of, long suffering, good versus evil. It's told in a timeless manner, right? That will always be a relevant theme to us. Standing up to the bully.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that you said that you were not convinced if they were good or not, the family.
But this is what I'm saying. But because I know some of the history, because I'm married to an Argentine, if I knew nothing, I wouldn't know what to think about this movie at all. They didn't give you enough.
Okay.
If I didn't know what I know about Argentina, I'd be like, oh, well, he seems to be a spy that the government came and took away, which is what you do to spies.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. Maybe it's because I didn't live through a dictatorship, but maybe like coming from Spain and having like consumed much more media around like, hey, this is what used to happen, like through dictatorships, is that I can relate like more of this is one of those stories. Or something like the police comes, is that they may have like whatever kind of remote, sometimes it may be legit, and some other times maybe like just a remote kind of, we heard you criticizing the leader while you were buying bread. Ugh. So we're going to be like taking you for questioning,
Yeah.
And then is that you cross paths with someone in a power trip and you disappear. So
yeah, everyone in Russia had someone, an uncle, brother, dad, everyone just disappeared one day. Every single person.
Yep. So let's wait if we get some of those here. Would you turn I'm Still Here into a TV show?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Could this have been a short?
Yep. No, let me answer the question seriously. I don't think this could have been a short. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I think there is enough story here that it needs time to tell, and we do need to sit with the family and sit with them. So it couldn't have been a short.
I agree. I don't think that I don't want this to be turned into a TV show. Is that this needs to be a movie for just seeing like a quick progression of how like the idyllic family life, it gets like just crack apart, but they are still resilient through the process. Now, I don't think that this could have been a short, because yes, as you said, is that you need to live with them. You need to just like, for actually getting a bit more of the emotional impact about like, hey, this is how the life like changed like quite a bit. Now, if this movie could have been better, I would say yes, because we didn't need like 2 hours and 15 minutes for developing that.
No, we did not.
So, one thing that I forgot to mention, I love the soundtrack. I have forgotten like how cool Brazilian music was during the 70s.
Yeah, they have really good taste.
Yep.
And they make a big deal out of the taste they have throughout the film, which I like.
Yeah, so they try to rub it on your face, similar to Almodovar in The Room Next Door. That is, the characters are always like talking about like, oh, did you read this? Oh, this is like in this movie. That is like, okay, we get it. You are cultural, educated, okay? And this a bit more, okay, they are high class. They can actually just talk about Brazilian music, international music. I think that The Girl in London buys a T-Rex album. That is like, oh, that's cool. I mean, it's not the most popular 70s, like artist. So it's cool that she actually goes for this. But they talk about the Os Mutantes and stuff like that.
Also, there when we're getting to know the kids in kind of these like early shots of their rooms, the one of the girls is like very into French pop music and Hitchcock. I was like,
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, that was still fine. That reminds me. So for you, it was a bit more like, I don't buy these.
I
I
don't
don't
buy
buy that she actually liked that stuff. That it
No,
was a bit.
what I thought when they showed that is that the director is trying to say something very specific that I don't know what it means in the Brazilian culture. Does this mean that she has access to an international scene that most people don't? Does it mean that she's subversive because this isn't okay but with the government? Does it mean I don't know
That's
what that means
fair.
that she likes Hitchcock?
Yeah, well, my feeling, if this was like a dictatorship, like close to what was in Spain, is that yes, they had access to stuff that it may be hard to come across. I don't think that most of these like movies are going to be like played in the AMC equivalent in Brazil around the corner. I think that it will be like more about like, hey, you have like your circle of very culturally educated people, and you may have like ways for just getting your hands into some of this stuff.
I have to say, it wasn't lost on me that the film was about a boy who wrote a memoir about the mother he loved so dearly, and they did choose to show Psycho. I mean, I don't think that was an accident.
Okay, yeah, probably was not an accident, but no, I was going to be like making a comment about like when these things like come across as disingenuous. I remember we watched a movie long time ago, a Spanish movie called Thesis. I don't know if you remember it. It was like a thriller about a snuff movie, the shooting of a snuff movie.
Yes, I remember this film.
So the kids that they go to college is that they are studying cinema, and they saw the room of one of them, and she actually has a poster of My Own Private Idaho.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I remember this very specifically.
And I rewatched this movie a couple of times, and it always comes to mind every time that poster is there, like your comment about like that bitch didn't choose that poster. That was the director. That I found hilarious. So yeah, sorry, this is a bit of a divergence, but it's like a bit the feeling when I see like these kids' rooms about like, oh, you are 14 and your favorite movie is Vertigo.
No, it wasn't.
Or Psycho. It's like, come on, no, it wasn't. I mean, maybe it was, but I found like a bit of I don't know if this is very, I don't know, honest, or it's a bit more about projecting that is like, you know what it would be, kid. So what would be cool is like a 14-year-old that actually loved Hitchcock.
She's super into Psycho, and she dances to French disco.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's right. When they're dancing there, it's like, oh my God, this is a bit suggestive. For a Brazilian, they're very avant-garde, very free. But yeah, I think that these were all of the questions. So should we score?
Let's do it. This was your pick, so I will
Yep.
score first. I'm going to go with a 6.5 for this one.
Okay. I'm going to go with 7.
Yeah.
I think that is it's just fine. It's good. I think that it's a good movie. It's important, but it falls into the bucket of important movies that at some point I'm never going to be able to differentiate one from the other.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Important feels like an appropriate adjective, but it's going to fade away. It's going to fade away super fast, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is like one of those movies that right now, because of the Oscars and because of the conversation that is happening around, is the right time for watching it. But honestly, I don't know if in 5 years, it's what I was telling you, there may be another important movie of this specific subset of movies that just expires this one.
All right, let's start the clock. See how long it takes.
Sadly. All right, I think this was a good conversation. Well, if you're listening to us, thank you so much. Remember, subscribe, like, whatever is on the platform that you're listening on. Tell all of your friends about us.
And until next time.
Bye.